Hey everybody, welcome to the Renaissance Woodworker Shop Update for December 23rd, 2016. A couple weeks ago I talked about my dust collector and I was waiting on my dust filter. Well, it's here and I've got it installed up in the corner. I opted not to take it all the way to the ceiling because I figured I can still mount it in such a way that I can use this top shelf of my lumber rack for whatever purpose, probably lumber, and I've got a fair amount of space underneath it. I've still got about 2 feet of space underneath the dust bag that I could use for storage of some sort. But more than anything, I just kind of like having a little bit of elbow room back in the corner there. So the dust collector is in place and it works great. The dust collector is not new. It's a dust collector. I mean, what is there to say? It turns on, it blows, it sucks. Yeah, works great. Now, like I said, the Dust-Rite dust collector itself is not new. I've actually had it for many, many years. In fact, if you look on the Rockler website, you find a review I did of this probably 7 or 8 years ago. So I've had it in the shop for a while. It's always worked really well for my needs. Just for some reason, I thought I needed a bigger dust collector, and that's how I ended up with my 1.5 horse Steel City. Now that I really just have this big planer behind me and really just shop vac duties, this works great. Now that it's got the HEPA filter underneath it and the clear plastic bag, it's super easy to change. Plus I can see when it's full and when it's not full. The bag's a little bit smaller than what I was used to with a 1.5 horse collector, but that's to be expected really with just a smaller capacity collector. I've used it just to do a little bit of shop vac work. I ran the planer a couple times, and the CFM is just great for what I need it for short run. I paired it with one of these Dust-Rite collapsible hoses, and because my shop is only 22 feet from front to back, this extends up to 24 feet. So I can reach basically every corner of my shop for shop vac. I've got this little floor attachment dealy whacker that, it just lives right here, and everything works out really great for just a basic shop vac purpose. I think what I'm gonna do is build a bracket or something on the wall. Rockler makes those little snap-in brackets you can mount to the wall just to slot the handle into. Most of the time it'll probably live connected to my planer, but it might just be kind of nice because I've got the space to just kind of snap it into the wall there so I don't have to bend down on the floor and pick it up. But that's the Dust-Rite dust collector with the Dust-Rite 1 micron HEPA filter underneath. It's mounted to the wall, which brings up another point. When I remodeled my shop, the wall that's behind the camera, I clad that entire wall in plywood, and I've absolutely been loving having 3/4 inch plywood for my walls because I can just put anything anywhere, hang anything anywhere. I don't have to worry about finding studs or anything like that. Well, on this wall of the shop, I had, because the garage, the ground level is right by my windows here, I had to clad the bottom half, the cinder block, in the plywood, but I left the top half, the drywall. Well, that still means I've got to find things like studs. And slowly but surely, I've gotten so used to the plywood that I've started tacking up plywood on this side of the shop, tacking it to the studs and just using little patches here and there to hang stuff on. I've got my sawtill hanging on a French cleat, which is attached to a piece of plywood that's attached to 2 studs behind it. And I did the same thing here for the Dust-Rite collector. It comes with the French cleat, just a metal French cleat. So I took a piece of plywood. It's actually, the distance because of my chair rail is actually just a little bit under 48 inches. So I had to go ahead and cross cut off a little 1/2 inch strip of plywood from a scrap I had laying around that was 48 inches wide. Not a big deal, quick work with a handsaw. Then I was able to just screw it to the studs. Unfortunately, it was wide enough to span the 16-inch distance between studs, so I was able to anchor it in 2 places. But frankly, even if I was only able to anchor it along 1 stud, 3/4 inch plywood would be plenty strong, and it gives me a nice 3/4 inch base that I can use to mount everything against. So then I took the metal French cleat and just hung it wherever I wanted. And as you can see, I've got quite a bit of space that I can move this around. If I decided later that I wanted to move the whole thing up or move it down because I needed more space up here, I could certainly do that. That's the beauty of having that 3/4 inch ply wall. Utter flexibility to mount anything anywhere. So if you have the means, I highly recommend tacking up some plywood, some OSB, some T111, something solid on the walls of your shop. It makes hanging things like this collector so much easier. Now I do have time for one quick question. Got a question about this Grizzly planer and its mobile base and just how effective is it? Right now it's set for movement. The question was, is it really all that effective, or is it just a Herculean effort to move this? There's no question, this sucker is 900 pounds, but as you can see, it is not a Herculean effort to move it. So it is definitely a must on my list for this planer, or there's just no way that I would ever be able to move this thing around. So just a quick update from me this week, folks. A little update on the dust collector. I'll let you know how it continues to work out over the weeks, months, years, but as I said, it's not a new collector, it's already a proven commodity for me, so I'm excited to have dust collection back in the shop. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody. I will see you in the new year.